combination that is my high sensitivity level paired with my psychic gifts, my psychic abilities, also paired with my ADHD spectrum pattern recognition. Like, you put those three together and like, it's really interesting inside this brain and this body. And it's taken me a long time to figure out how to calibrate it, and also to know I'm not crazy. I'm just very unique. And through this entire process, most of it I have kept private. Like, there have been certain friends and mentors and, business coaches. Like, there's been certain people along the way that I've like fully openly shared at the time that I'm interacting with them, like my full experience. And a lot of the times they're like, they have no words. Like, they have no words. Like, part of it is like, they are amazed I'm as functional as I am with all that I've got going on. And they're also amazed by like the perceptions, like when I go into a situation and things happen and I come out of it, like some of the information and perceptions and frameworks I come out of and like that I share then I've shared with close friends, a lot of times they're like, oh my God, Dana, I had no idea. And like, they're expecting me to say one thing, and then I say something that hits the broadside of another back barn way over on the back 40. And then they have a couple days to think about it, and they're like, oh my God, like, you're right. And then things happen and they're like, how did you know? And I'm like, I don't know, high sensitivity levels, psychic stuff, and ADHD spectrum pattern recognition. And it's like, it's eerie. Like, it's eerie. And when I finally got to a point in my journey and my path in my life where I was much more, embracing myself with this, because I mean, you got to understand, I have spent most of my life masking. I like the amount of energy it has taken me to mask to be able to function in like what is considered normal society. Like, it's taken a lot of my energy just to do that, to quote unquote appear normal, when I've got all sorts of other things going on behind the scenes, right? And so it is with that thought, it is with that knowledge that I like transparently reveal to you that I want to share this next story. Now, I don't know why my spirit team wanted me to preemptively share all of that transparent stuff before I share this E.T. boot barn story, but for some reason it's important for you to know. Now, as far as the story goes, this E.T. boot barn story, it happened for me in about, it's like 2017, 2018, and there was this very significant event that went along with it. And I have been walking around the last couple of weeks thinking about this story. And I actually, like last week, I was like, can I tell the story? Can I tell the story? And Spirit Team's like, nope, not ready. Not ready. And it's not time. Well, it's time. So I get to tell this story and we're going to have some fun. So like I said before, this is like, I want to say it's 2018. It's like right around 2017, 2018. I am still living in the North Fork of the Gunnison, just outside of Paonia, Colorado, with my ex-husband, Bob. And I am at a place with my business where I would have to say I'm like hitting my glass ceiling. I'm like hitting my glass ceiling, like in that place of feeling like, oh, I've gone as far as I can go with this. And yet I'm going, I'm trying to bust through. Like, I've been out on the road a lot, been talking with people. My digital footprint is not great because at the time I just don't know how to do it. So I'm doing a lot of physical road work and talking with people in person. And like, that was working. Like, it was working well and it was connecting, but I was also at that point feeling the grind and feeling like I'm hitting the glass ceiling on this. I want to get the word out about somatic money so much more, but I'm just not able to do it with that oomph energy. And I could feel that. I could feel that settling in. So the timing on this is like right around in the fall, and I have set up this event that I'm scheduled to do over on the Front Range, over on the Colorado Front Range. And so if you're familiar with Colorado, there's the western slope, which is the west side of the state, and there's the Front Range, which is the east side of the state, and there's those mountains that run right through the middle of the state. And so I'm over on the western slope. I've scheduled this event in Fort Collins, Colorado, and so now it is time for me to get in my car and drive over. And the event, I mean, it's a really kind of fun, lovely event because I had partnered with a colleague. She was a coach in food, nutrition, weight loss for women, and I'm a coach in body-based interpersonal money relationship. And when I got connected with this woman, we're talking with one another, and we both knew she would have clients show up with food issues, also connected in money issues, and I have clients showed up with money issues connected into food issues. And we decided with the data that we had that we could get together and put together a bit of a seminar to illuminate and enlighten for people this connection between food, money, money, food, right? So cool. So I'm driving over the mountains, enjoying the drive, but also kind of getting mentally and emotionally prepared for this, going through scripting as I'm driving along, that kind of thing. And the place where I had booked to stay was not in Fort Collins because Fort Collins can tend to be a little bit pricier. And for some reason, like the bookings, there were some events going on and I couldn't get into some places. So I ended up booking my hotel outside of Greeley, Colorado. And Greeley, Colorado is my old hometown. Like I graduated from Eaton High School. Greeley was the place that we went into, and we had all kinds of connections and activities. Me and my family, we lived northeast of Greeley, did high school in Eaton, but went into Greeley proper to participate in all kinds of things. So to me, Greeley is home. Greeley, Colorado is old stomping grounds. That's my home. And like I said in the grandmother video, I had gone no contact with my parents. So I'm driving over the mountain to go to this event that is in Fort Collins. I'm booked to stay in a hotel just out of sight of Greeley, which is across town from where my parents are at. And it's within that 1 or 2 year period where I have already gone no contact with them. So this is a pretty big deal. And one of the things I kept checking in on with myself and my spirit team and my then husband at the time was like, oh my God, should I make contact with my parents? And it's like, no, I made that decision. Things are going a lot better. I don't know. I don't need to immerse myself back into the toxicity and the dysfunction and all those things I've been working so hard to pull myself out of. But at the same time, I'm like, oh God, I booked a hotel outside of Greeley. So I'm driving along, thinking about the event, getting all prepped for that, and then also processing stuff about my parents and, oh my God, how do I handle that? I'm going to be right on the periphery of my old hometown. And if that wasn't enough, I was also experiencing a medical scare. I had, within this window, within this time frame, I had discovered some lumps in my breast. And scared the shit out of me, rightly so. And I had started the process of getting myself into the hospital, getting things looked at, whatever, the sonogram, like I had started the process. But I was also very aware of keto and using keto to drop the sugar load in the body to kill off candida so that the body can reacclimate into a more alkaline state, which is not a good host for cancer. And I was full tilt into that. I was full tilt into like a keto full-on fast. And so the good news is from that in the 3 weeks I did keto, I went in and I had done my first doctor's appointment and they had said, yeah, we definitely see the lumps. They were picking them up on the machine, but then I needed to get a biopsy scheduled, and that was 3 weeks out, I think. And so I got that scheduled, and bam, immediately I was on keto, but I didn't tell any of these Western American doctors that. I was like, well, I'm going to do my holistic thing. They're going to do their Western American thing, and I'm going to do my holistic thing. Well, I did that, and I did it so well that I literally shrank every single lump that they had found in either one of my breasts. And so when I went back in for that follow-up appointment to get the biopsy done, there was nothing to biopsy. And the doctor he was actually kind of angry at me. He was like, "Where did they go?" And, given how he responded, I did not tell him what I was doing with the keto, but like I was like, "Oh my God, holistics work." Like, I don't know that you can cure all cancer that way, but like I was certainly a living testament to changing my body biology so that I could make a health difference for myself and not go through the whole biopsy, chemo, like that whole thing. I was so fortunate, so fortunate. But what you need to know for this story is that I'm not only driving to the Front Range, prepping for my presentation and also processing about the parental load thing and being in a no contact state with them. I was also doing this full-on keto fast to save my freaking life. And so it wasn't just one thing and another. It was like this and this and this. And my spirit team also wants me to mention at this point, like, this was right about the tipping point when I began to just really fully wake up to the fact of how much of a load I was carrying. Like, it was not lost on me that part of the reason I had lumps in my breast had to do with patterns in eating and nutrition. That was definitely part of it. Interesting, I was going to be doing a food presentation at the same time. And I was beginning to be fully aware of the load that I was carrying with my marriage, with my business, with my clients, with very little support system for myself. I mean, this was the beginning of my awakening of, oh my God, I can't carry this load like this anymore. Like, this is not going to work. And so I was at the front end of having that awakening. And like today, being on TikTok and being part of the conversation going on and watching and listening to so many other women, we call this emotional labor. So at that point, I was beginning to be very aware of the load of my emotional labor and how much it was being ignored, the value of what I was doing, and I had no voice. I had no voice to say, this emotional labor thing. Like, I didn't have a way to quantify it or value it, or have it validated in a way where I could go like, hey, ship sinking, need help kind of thing. And I think there's a lot of women out there that can identify with this. So I was like right at that tipping point. It was like happening in my head, but I didn't have the framework and the concepts and the vocabulary yet. That's all come after, far after the fact. So now you know how important was that drive time that I had. How important it was that I had that drive time to get prepped for the presentation, process the no contact with my family, process what I was doing with my physical health, my mental, emotional, spiritual, physical health, and the keto to help heal myself. And then on top of that, beginning to be quasi-aware of like, and we'll call it what it is. It was emotional labor, and how that was all being balanced or not balanced at that point. So this is how I landed on the Colorado Front Range in that hotel outside of Greeley, Colorado, on a late fall night where it's not quite winter cold and it's no longer summer warm. It's in that in between, and so I arrive and. Oh, what a relief. I get there. And I frankly, the times that I was able to go on the road during all of this happening was a relief for me because it was a timeout. It was a timeout for me to be able to step away from my life just a little bit to get a little bit of a break and some perceptual breathing room, so to speak. So I got checked in, getting all set up. I had I had all my meals pre-packed because I wanted to make sure I was eating right on the trip. So I ate out of my hotel room that night. So I got in, got set up. I'm kind of breathing a sigh of relief, beginning to feed myself, take care of myself, bath time, get all comfy, that kind of thing. And, and after checking with Bob, I'm actually feeling pretty good about the evening. I can feel, I know my parents are out there, but I'm pretty sure I'm like not going to make contact with them simply because I have to stick with my program to take care of my mental health and my emotional health as far as the family is concerned. So I'm all cocooned in, I'm all bubbled in my hotel room, and I'm feeling pretty good about the evening, and I'm getting all settled in, and I go to bed, and I'm pretty like lights out. I was pretty tired that evening. So I'm sleeping along, and as I'm sleeping, the weather thing going on along the Front Range, northeastern Colorado at that time, that evening when I drove in was like, it was kind of like gray and cloudy and drizzly, and that usually doesn't happen for Colorado. Like, that's kind of an anomaly, like to get cloudy, rainy weather like that's kind of a treat. And so like I had enjoyed that coming in and gone to bed with like that energy in the air of the weather. And as I'm sleeping, the fog comes in, like that heavy, misty kind of fog. And that's also kind of a rarity in a lot of Colorado. And so that's happening while I'm sleeping. And then right around the middle of the night, like this had to be like 1:30 to 2:30 in the morning, like, dead of night after midnight. And I get woken up, like I'm sleeping so hard, and then I'm like woken up, bolt upright, sitting up in bed, and I can feel a presence in the room. And at first I'm like, oh shit, somebody broke into my room. And it wasn't that. It wasn't that at all. So I'm sitting up in my bed, and I can feel a presence in my room. And, I'm waking up, and my spidey senses beginning to turn on, and I can kind of feel my spirit team like, you need to tune in, and I'm tuning in. And I don't actually physically see it, but I can feel a very distinct presence of an extraterrestrial. Not of my spirit team. Like, there's my spirit team, and then there was this ET. And there was this feeling of like, I could kind of, like in my mind's eye, I could kind of make out the features. And after I got calmed down, like, it didn't feel ominous. This ET didn't feel ominous, and it didn't feel threatening, but there was a feeling from this ET of like, you need to wake up. You need to wake up. There's something you need to do. You need to wake up. And I'm freaked out because I'm all alone on the Front Range, no contact with my parents. I've got all this stuff going on in my life. I'm in my nice bubble with my spirit team, and I got a freaking ET show up in my room, and I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? I had that feeling of like, are you fucking kidding me? I can't handle any more than this. And this ET just kept going and going. It's like, you need to wake up. There's something we need you to do. There's like, you need to wake up. And I'm like, okay, I'm awake. And so then I turn on the light, and he never materialized physically, but I could feel him. Like, I felt like if I put my hand out, I could have gone doink. I didn't do that. Like, it was like, oh, that was too much. But I could feel him still there talking with me. So I got my light turned on, and he's like, you need to get dressed. We need you to do something. And I'm like, okay. At this point, I'm exasperated because I've been woken up. He freaked me out. Like, I do not need shenanigans. Like, this is the pissy part of myself. It's that part of me like, I've already got enough on my plate. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, that's kind of where I was at that evening when I finally kind of started putting two and two together. It was like, I need my sleep. Like, why do you people do this in like the middle of the night? I need my sleep. And he just would not give up the ghost, no pun intended. And he's reiterating to me, like, we need you to do this thing. We need you to get clothes on. And I'm like, and that's where I draw the line. I'm like, I'm staying in my jammies. I'm like, I'm not getting on other clothes. I'm staying in my jammies. I will put on a robe, and I will put on a coat, and I will put on my slippers. And I didn't feel like I needed to get in the car or drive anywhere. It wasn't anything like that. And when I made that decision and let this ET know, like, that was my decision, he kind of relented a little bit, like, okay, all right, like, let her get dressed a little bit. And, then once I was in the mode of putting on my clothes, I started having this thought of like, oh shit, what are we going to do? Like, what does the CT want me to do? Like, I hadn't gotten that far because I wasn't that awake. And so I'm dressing and it starts to dawn on me, like, what does he want me to do? And so then, thus my next freak out of like, oh God, what is this going to be about? Like, that's when my mental bank started going, like, that's when I kind of started flipping out a little bit. And he got me calmed down. And he's like, oh no, it's not anything like that. He basically said, he's like, we need you to go out in the road and look at something. And I'm like, are you flipping kidding me? All of this for me to go out in the road and look at something. And that's when I look out the window and it is foggy. It is a misted in foggy, and the street lamps, street lamps with the light streaming down through the fog. And it's one of those fogs that, like, if you're out driving, it's almost too thick to drive in kind of fog, right? And so this ET is still on me, like, get dressed. We want you to go out into the road and look at something. And so I'm like, well, he's not going to leave me alone until I entertain him. And then part of me is like, oh my God, am I going to get mugged or attacked? Like, you go to worst case scenario kind of thing. And there was a feeling of like, no, it's pretty innocent. It's pretty innocent what we want you to do. So finally, like, I get dressed. I make sure I get my key card, because like that would have been the worst thing, is to walk out and not have my key card and not be able to get back in again. So I made sure I had my key card and my keys to my car. Like I was like, check, double check. You guys are not pulling anything on me kind of thing. And so I've got myself all set up and I'm headed out the door and I can feel him. And like, as I'm moving down the stairs, he's kind of floating with me. And then he freaking vanishes. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, all of that to get me out of bed, and he's like not even going to go with me all the way out to the street. So I'm like, okay, and I got my spirit team with me, and I go out the door, and I'm like, I'm in my jammies and my coat, pad, like, street lamps, fog. It's like really thick, 2:00 in the morning, and I'm pad, out to the street. There's no traffic because it is the middle of the night and it is Greeley, Colorado. Things pretty much shut down. And I go out into the street. I go out into the middle of the street, exactly where he indicated I need to be. And I'm standing there and I start turning around and it's like dead quiet, like completely dead quiet. And I'm like, they got me up for all this. I'm standing in the middle of the street. It's completely quiet, misted in by fog. I'm turning like, what? And finally I just stop. And when I stop, I am pointed directly at a boot barn, which is right across from this hotel. Like I stop, there's field on one side and some buildings in the hotel, and I'm turning. When I finally stop, I'm like full on facing this boot barn. If you didn't find some of the other stuff previous to this funny, like this is like, this is how crazy this is. So I'm standing there facing the boot barn and I'm thinking, it can't be the boot barn. This is just too ridiculous. And as I'm standing there facing it, I swear to God, I can feel this boot barn just rising in the fog, just like the neon sign of the boot barn, just boom, boot barn. And it's like it grew in size and amplified in size. Then I heard a voice in my ear go, we need you to shop there tomorrow. And I'm like, this is a retail booty call at 2:00 in the morning? Are you fucking kidding me? I need to sleep. I mean, it was the most ridiculous psychic spiritual story that I had lived through to that point, right? And so I'm standing there in the street in my slippers, my jammies, my robe, like I'm all bundled up, like little me in the fog, street lamp, and this boot barn, boom, boot barn. And Spirit Team was like, we need you to shop there tomorrow. I did not have the energy to get mad. I'm mad now, but I did not have the energy to get mad. And I just looked at the boot barn and I was like, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And so I'm like, okay, you guys want me to go do retail tomorrow at the boot barn? I've got some time to do that. And it was the kind of thing is like, I had some money. I had a little space. I had a little bit of a budget. I could spend some money. Didn't want to spend money. I didn't feel like I needed to spend money, but evidently I was supposed to go to the boot barn and, do some retail. And Spirit Team, like, they gave me a budget. Like, they literally showed me the amount of money to spend. Like, this is how crazy this was. So I'm like, okay. And I'm like, is that it? And they're like, yep. So I get myself back into the building, trot in, like, disrobe, get down to my jammies, crawl into bed, and I'm like, try and get as much of rest and sleep as I possibly can. And when I wake up in the morning, I was like, did that thing that happened last night, did that happen? And I was like, yeah, I think that happened. And I looked out the window to see if the boot barn was still there. Like, is the boot barn still there? And it's like, yeah, the boot barn is still there. And so after I did breakfast and got myself together and I had a little space, little time, I decided, okay, time to go do retail. So grab my purse and my stuff and my jacket and, trot over to the boot barn. And I walk in and I step in the store, really lovely country western store. And, I'm a country western girl, northeastern Colorado, grew up outside of Greeley, 1988 Weld County Fair Queen, horses and cowboys, and I did the whole thing. And so I know what it's like to do country western and country and all that good stuff. And so when I walked into the boot barn, and I'm living on the Colorado Western slopes, so me purchasing clothing like this is like it's not too far off. I don't have to go cowboy crazy, cowgirl crazy with it, but it's got a little bit of a western flair and I'm okay with that. So I walked in the store, really nice layout of the floor. Country western music is playing. I begin to go over to the women's section, and I kind of stop at the front door because I'm tuning in with Spirit, and I'm like, is there anything I need to be paying attention to? My Spirit Team is like, no, just do your thing. Just do your thing. And I'm like, literally a retail outing choreographed by my Spirit Team in a country western store. At this point in my life, I'm a pretty liberal Southwestern psychic. So I definitely can feel that sensation of not necessarily belonging in the store like I used to in the past, but I can play along. I can play along. And so I did. So I went and looked for some things and tried some of the stuff on and I found actually some lovely pieces. And even after all this time, a couple of them are still hanging in my closet because they're really nice pieces. And so I got done with my outfitting and I had some nice exchanges with the women on the floor, just some really lovely chit-chatting. And so I had a good experience, and all along I'm checking in with Team like this. And I just kept checking in, and they're like, Spirit Team's like, enjoy yourself, just do what you do and enjoy yourself. And so I did. When I was ready and I counted up, and I had my items and I counted up the total, and it was right around what Spirit Team had budgeted for me. It was kind of spot on actually. And so I go up to the counter and I'm still kind of checking in with my Spirit Team going, this to wake me up at 2:00 in the morning, like an ET to wake me up at 2:00 in the morning to stand me in the street and the boot barn go, whoa. And okay, so I'm doing my retail thing and I'm like, I don't get it. And I'm just about ready to check out and I don't get it. So, I go up to the counter and, ladies, is this what you're going to get? Yeah. And so she starts checking me out, and that's when I can't shut up. Sometimes when you go to check out, you just stay quiet and you're like, nice, little chit chatty and then move along your way. I could not shut my trap. I'm just blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And I could not stop myself, right? And I'm thinking in the back of my head, I'm thinking, just shut up, Dana. Like, they don't, like, stop. And I can't. And partway through doing this, for some reason, I don't even remember at this point what I was saying, but I do remember that the more I talked, the more the energy was building in me, to the point that at one point I went to emphasize something, and I did this with my hands. I went bam, like I had my hands completely spread out wide open to make a point. I was like bam. And the moment I did that, the moment I went bam to make my point, everything shut down in the store. Lights went out, lights out, like it was just like click, 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 click. All the lights went out. All the computer banks went out. All the retail stations lit up with computers. Whoop. And the phone too. Like everything went out. The electricity went out in the store, in the boot barn, when I went whoop to make a point. And like the clerk just kind of looked at me like with big eyes, and I'm looking down at my hands like, what the fuck? And Spirit Team didn't say anything, but I did get that feeling from Spirit World of like, see how powerful you are? See how powerful you are. And like, I'm standing there in shock, and truth be told, it took me a little while to process this, because then I start, all the employees in the store, they start running around, like getting things back on again. Like somebody like checked the fuse box, and I mean, it was crazy, but they got everything turned back on again. They got the computers booted up, like, nothing fried or anything, thank God. But Spirit Team was like, see how powerful you are? See how powerful you are. And I'm still kind of in shock, and the lady starts tabulating everything, and I think they're like, get this woman out of the store as fast as we can, because we don't know what she's going to do next. And so I finally, like, they check me out, the transaction goes through, and I've got my clothes, I kind of grab my clothes, and I'm like, good God. And I'm walking out the store, and that repeat message of like, see how powerful you are? You don't know how powerful you are. And I walk out of the store, and I'm going back to the hotel room, and I start kind of putting two and two together, and remember processing to do the presentation on that day up in Fort Collins with my colleague, processing dealing with being no contact with my parents when it's fresh out of the gate, and yet I'm staying across town from them, and they do not know. Third is medical emergency, healing myself with keto fasting. And the fourth part of that awakening of like realizing how much I'm drowning with emotional labor that I need support with, like all of those things on tap. In Spirit World was like, you don't know how powerful you are. See how powerful you are. And so there was this feeling of like, yeah, I've got all this stuff going on. And it was a reminder of my own power. Now, when you're in the middle of your own forest for your own trees, sometimes it takes a little while. And that experience and that messaging took me a little while. And quite frankly, it is taking me telling this story to have some full-on fresh new filters of like, holy crap, I did not know how powerful I was. Because from there, I used the keto to figure out healing myself. I continued to have a boundary with my parents that was tested, and every month that went by, I was getting a little bit better, to the point where I was like, wow, I am not going back to the fold. There's no way I'm going back to the fold. And then I'm beginning to put two and two together with my marriage and my clientele, and that I got to start having some boundaries there. And that incident of that ET routing me out of bed to stand in the middle of a very, misty, foggy road in a boot barn to get me to go in and do whatever I needed to do to like first treat myself, a little bit of spa time, which I never gave myself. I still kind of don't do it. And the reminder of like whatever energy shot out of me when I did that thing with my hands and shut everything down, and that messaging of, you don't know how powerful you are, look how powerful you are. It was just a reminder to me of like, oh, and like that continued on for a while. So on the back end of this video, I hope, whatever you take away from the story, I hope one of the things you take away from this story is your own power, your own personal brand of your empowerment. It's important. And it is important to get it out and dust it off and show it to the world. This is just our reminder as women that especially now, it's okay to be able to flash our hands, have lightning bolts come out of them, and go, bam, I'm powerful. And I know how to shut stuff down and turn stuff on. We have to remember our power and remember that some power is good, especially empowerment. And just because there are some people on the planet who are using it horribly right now, does not mean that we shy away from our own power. That's what I've got for you for now. Thank you for being here. And by God, make sure you keep walking forward to meet those miracles along the way. And I will see you in my next video.